Meanwhile, France has said that the Niger junta has no authority to expel its ambassador to the country, Sylvain Ite. Niger military on Friday gave Ite 48 hours to vacate the country for refusing an invitation to meet with the junta-appointed foreign minister. The foreign ministry says the actions of the French government were contrary to the interests of Niger. But France said Niger's putschists have no authority to expel its ambassador from Niamey. The French President Emmanuel Macron had on Thursday demanded the release of the Nigerian President Mohamed Bazoum, who was detained on July 26 in the military coup led by former commander of Niger's Presidential Guard, Abdurrahmane Chiani. In the meantime, tens of thousands of people rallied in Niamey Saturday in support of last month's coup, a day after the country's new military rulers gave France's ambassador to Niger 48 hours to leave the country. The Seyni Kounch Stadium, the largest in Niger with a capacity of 30,000 seats, was two-thirds full, and the sound of vuvuzelas rang out. The flags of Niger, Algeria and Russia dotted the stands, while acrobats painted in Niger's national colors put on a show in the center of the pitch. The support set said that the country fully supported the National Council for the Safeguard of the Homeland, which seized power after overthrowing President Mohamed Bazoum's government on July 26. Jide Johnson is a political analyst, is joining us on the latest development coming out of Niger. Jide, thank you so much for your time here. Listen, here we are again seeing massive support for the junta in Niger. Is it time we take into account the fact that the people want what they want?
Well, I thank you for having me. And well, it's important for us to understand the dynamics of what is going on in Niger. And if you see democracy is government of the people, by the people, and for the people. And I think with the kind of massive support the Nigerian coupists are getting, it is more or less like they are populist. They've turned from being coupist to populist government in Niger. However, that does not approve that undemocratic move carried out by the coupists in removing a democratically elected government. What we want power to come from in Africa and anywhere in the world is for power to come to the ballot boxes and not through the barrel of the gun. However, it's important for the international communities and the regional bodies, sub-regional bodies like ECOWAS, African Union, and the former colonial power of Niger to understand that there must be an engagement. There's no way the coupists can hand over power to
there, but when we get Jide back on the line, we will continue our discussions on Niger. Now, you recall that we had told you earlier that Niger's coupists have asked for the removal of French Ambassador Sylvain Ite and the Nigeria ambassador from their country. Well, my understanding is that Jide is back over the... Jide, you were making a point just before we lost you, but I'm wondering whether or not it's a good thing or a bad thing that we are seeing right now.
Well, the most important thing is for us, for power to come through the ballot boxes and not through the barrel of the gun. But we have found ourselves in this situation. Now that we have found ourselves in this situation, we should call for dialogue. Now, the coupists have said that, well, in the next 3 years, they provided a 3-year timeline. What we should ask for is for the timetable and for them to draw out the process and procedure through which they will transfer power back to the people through the ballot boxes. I don't think it's now possible for Bazoum to be reinstated. I think we've gone past that page. What we should do is to engage this junta government that has become populist, because you could see the kind of massive support, whether it's organic or orchestrated. At least there is some level of support for this coupists.
Right.
Yeah, by Nigeria.
We've seen ECOWAS track back on his military invasion threat on Niger. There are two things I want us to look at over there. Is it time ECOWAS took it completely off the table so it can have dialogue with the Nigerian putschs? What do you think?
Yeah, I think ECOWAS should take it off the table. ECOWAS did not intervene in Guinea, did not intervene in Burkina Faso, did not intervene in Mali. What's the exception about Niger? I think what we should do holistically in ECOWAS sub-region is for us to look at these issues that led to coup, unattended to, so that we begin to attend to those issues, so that those issues don't turn into crisis that lead to coup. So as far as I'm concerned, what is the best interest of the sub-region is for us to engage the coupists, for us to engage this military junta and ask them, put a tight noose on their neck, so that the timeline they are providing, they provide a timeline that gives us transition to civilian administration, that power comes through the ballot box and not through the barrel of the gun. And I think that's the approach ECOWAS should do. This idea of bringing about threat of invading Niger, it's not going to go well for ECOWAS. It's not going to go well for the Nigerians as well.
Very well. Despite the backtracking we've seen from ECOWAS, the junta has asked its troops, if you like, to be on high alert. Maximum alert has been sent out throughout the military ranks there. What do you think they are referring to here?
Well, in the drumbeat of war is propaganda. That's the drumbeat of war. And then, in this season where you have two conflicting powers, two conflicting interests, ECOWAS is trying to invade Niger and rescue power back from the military junta, and the military junta want to restate themselves. So everyone will be rallying in support. But my advice and my counsel to both parties is for them to come to the negotiating table. Let us negotiate peace out of this turmoil that we have in Niger. Don't let us have another thing like we have.
Well, Jide's connection won't let us hear him in full. But Jide, I ask you my last question. Hopefully you can hear me. We know that the Nigerians have asked for the removal of the French ambassador from the country. France has responded. The same was asked of Nigeria. However, Nigeria is also now responding, dispelling any expulsion of his envoy, Mohamed Usman, in Niger. First, I want you to analyze this move, the response of France, and whether or not Nigeria's latest response about dispelling, any news of expulsion, it's something we can go by. Well, it seems we have lost. Jide, can you hear us?
I can hear you. I can hear you.
Right, please go ahead.
I think that. Well, what do you expect from the junta? Nigeria has threatened them to spearhead ECOWAS in invading the country. France has threatened to also provide military support for the invasion of the country so that power can be recovered back to the ousted president. As far as the junta are concerned, these are hostile countries. And what's your response to when you see hostility from countries? You expel the ambassador. I think as far as in war, your enemy has the action to force Nigeria leading ECOWAS and to force France, who is the former colonial masters of Niger, to the negotiating table. I think that's what they want to achieve with this expulsion of the Nigerian ambassador. As the government is concerned, they have the right. You can only retaliate. You can't force your ambassador on another country.
Well.
But I think that is a tactic in trying to get these two countries to come to the negotiating table. And I think it's important for both Nigeria and France from the international level.
Jide, I'm afraid we'll have to leave it here for now. Unfortunately, that connection will not allow us have better and longer conversation. But we'll move on to some other security matters.